Brooklyn, 1947. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days, washing the grime off the city, but never its sins. Detective Jack Mallin sat in his Buick, cigarette smoke curling through the cracks of the window. Across the street, a bar flickered with a broken neon sign that read Eden. That's where she was, the woman in red, sipping gin like it was blood. Her name was Veronica Lakewood, but the papers would later call her the Black Widow of Brooklyn. She had eyes that promised love and lips that whispered danger. Men followed her into shadows, but only she came back out. Jack had been watching her for weeks, and the line between hunter and prey was getting thin. He knew she'd killed before, and he knew she'd do it again. But what he didn't know was when she'd come for him. Veronica wasn't like the other women in this city of ghosts and gutters. She came from silk sheets and silver spoons, but she'd learned early that men with money bled the same as men without it. Her first husband died in a boating accident, or at least that's what the coroner wrote. The second slipped on marble stairs, his neck cracking like a promise. The third simply vanished, leaving behind a trail of debts and whispers. Each death left her richer, colder, and more beautiful. She had a way of turning grief into perfume, danger into art. When she smiled, men forgot the stories. When she kissed, they forgot themselves. But the truth had teeth, and it was getting closer. Jack had seen her kind before, but never like this. There was something magnetic about her, like a flame that knew it would burn you, but still begged you to come closer. He'd tailed her through jazz clubs and alleyways, through laughter and lies. Every night he told himself he'd stop, but every morning he found himself back on her trail. The city was shrinking around her. The police, the mob, even the press wanted a piece of the legend. But legends don't die easily. She moved like smoke, talked like sin, and smiled like she'd written the 10 Commandments just to break them. Jack wasn't after justice anymore. He was after her. One night, the trail led him to the docks. The air was thick with the smell of oil and salt, and somewhere a saxophone cried for mercy. Veronica stood there, staring at the water as if it held her reflection hostage. Jack approached slowly, gun in his pocket, heart in his throat. "You've been following me," she said without turning. Her voice was soft, dangerous, like velvet hiding a knife. "You make it sound like a crime," he replied. She turned then, her eyes catching the dim light, and for a moment he thought he saw fear. But Veronica Lakewood never feared anything, not even death. They talked for hours, words dripping with tension and cigarette ash. She told him about the men who tried to own her, the lies she'd built to survive, the blood that wouldn't wash off her hands. Jack listened, not as a detective, but as a man drowning in the sound of her voice. Every confession was a blade, and she handed it to him willingly. But something about her story didn't add up. A missing hour, a forged signature, a name whispered too softly. When he pressed, she smiled. "Careful, Jack," she said. Curiosity killed more than just cats. And then she kissed him, hard, slow, final. The next morning, Jack woke up in his car with a headache and an empty wallet. The docks were deserted, the tide red with sunrise and something darker. He checked his coat. Her cigarette case was gone, but a single photo remained. It showed Veronica with a man he didn't recognize. Her supposed first husband, alive and grinning. Suddenly everything turned cold. The woman he'd been chasing wasn't who he thought she was. She was hunting ghosts, and Jack had just joined the list. By the time he reached the police station, her name was already on the morning papers. Black Widow escapes again. Another body, another mystery, another night of questions without answers. The chief wanted him off the case, said he was too close. Maybe he was right, but Jack couldn't stop now. Obsession is just another word for love in this city. He retraced every clue, every lie, every touch. And then he found it, a note, tucked into his pocket he swore wasn't there before. It said only, "Brooklyn, Bridge, midnight, come alone." The bridge was empty except for the fog and the ghosts of bad decisions. Jack waited under a broken lamppost, the sound of the river whispering secrets. Then she appeared, coat black this time, eyes like polished steel. "You shouldn't have come," she said. "You told me to," he answered. She smiled, a little sad. "That's the problem with men like you. You always listen when you shouldn't." The shot came from the dark, not hers, not his. He hit the ground, and the world folded into silence. When he woke, he was in a hospital bed with a hole in his shoulder and a headline on the TV. "Veronica Lakewood, found dead, suicide or setup." Jack turned away from the screen. He didn't believe it. Women like her don't die, they disappear. He checked his jacket. The cigarette case was back, polished and full. Inside was a folded note in her handwriting. "Thanks for playing, detective. Maybe next life." He laughed, coughed, and lit one up. The smoke tasted like goodbye. Years later, Jack still drives through Brooklyn when it rains. The city's changed. New faces, new sins, same smell of regret. Sometimes, in the rearview mirror, he swears he sees her. The red coat, the smile, the danger. Maybe she's gone. Maybe she never existed. But every time he lights a cigarette, he feels her there, watching. And in the flicker of the flame, the Black Widow smiles once more.